Alright, hi everybody and welcome to another episode of Cooking with Lily and Generoso. I'm Lily.
I'm Generoso.
And so we were at Kamikaze for the past 3 days.
Woo!
And it's been super nutty. And so I'm going to make a pretty simple dish. And it's called Nui Xao. So it's something that I loved when I was a kid, and every little kid loves it. Mostly because it's kind of... Basically, it's Italian, and then it got co-opted by the French, and then the French brought it to Vietnam. And so essentially what it is, it's actually pasta stir-fried with tomato, and my version uses egg and some beef.
Wow.
And so we'll have pasta for the very first time in one of my episodes, which is very strange.
Sounds a little odd to me, but it sounds great.
So let's look at the ingredients.
Please.
So we have 1 pound of some nice sirloin. It's pretty thinly cut. We're going to pound it out and then cut it into kind of like bite-sized pieces. I have a head of red lettuce that's going to be used as the bottom in terms of like a salad. That'll just kind of keep the balance of the whole dish. And then I have some cilantro nicely washed for the garnish. We have 3 nice scallions. We have a nice red onion. We have about 2 bulbs of shallot. This is 1 giant bulb and 1 kind of small bulb, so I think they even out to 2. And then we have a handful of garlic cloves, about like 8 cloves.
Courtesy of the Raffi Estates.
Yes, courtesy of the Raffi Estates.
Thank you, Bob and Sherry.
And then also 2 Roma tomatoes as well, and that's for all of our produce. So let's look over at the other ingredients. I have 2 eggs. I have a little over a half a jar of pureed tomatoes. So you can totally use tomato paste in this. In fact, most recipes will call out for tomato paste, but being that I am adopted Italian, tomato paste is kind of forbidden in our house. I used it in the fried rice for the gumdaw, but you know, I kind of have this like love-hate relationship with it, so I decided that I'm going to use tomato puree and I'm going to actually cook it down and kind of let it balance out a little bit. It's going to taste better. So we have some mini penne. You could also use Nui, which is like Vietnamese pasta that you buy in a Vietnamese shop. We're just going with straight Barilla
Pretty
right
hard
now.
to get, yeah.
Yeah, it's not, as long as you go to a Vietnamese shop, you'll find it. I actually always preferred the Italian pasta, and so we're doing that today. We have some garlic powder, we have some oyster sauce, and we have our always dear friend fish sauce, and some soy sauce, and some black pepper that we're going to crack into our tomato sauce. So we're going to do just a tiny bit of prep because what we want to do first is actually begin to cook down our tomato sauce. So we'll see you very shortly. So Generoso has pounded and then sliced up the beef into little bite-sized chunks, and now we are going to marinate our beef. So first I'm going to crack some pepper on top of our beef.
Look at her crack.
I'm going to add some garlic powder. Probably about a teaspoon. Now I've taken the white part of my green onion and I've sliced it, so I'm just going to put it in. We're going to let this marinate for probably about like 30 minutes or so. I've also chopped up all of my shallot. I'm going to add about a half of it. Make this nice and flavorful. The other half we're going to save for the tomato. I've also minced my garlic, and I'm also going to add about half of it for my beef as well. Rest will also go to the tomato sauce. I know, it's bizarre. I'm making a slight tomato sauce. Hopefully I won't be too much of a heretic in this house.
You are a heretic! I think it's wonderful.
I'm going to add about a tablespoon of oyster sauce. Which will give a nice, like, sweet and savory flavor. And then about a tablespoon of soy sauce. And then about 2 teaspoons of fish sauce. Remember, can't have Vietnamese food without fish sauce.
It isn't everything.
Alright, at this point, I'm just going to take my hands and get everything all mixed together. And it should smell pretty nice at this point.
It does. There's a really beautiful fragrance in the room, and
Alright, so I'm going to keep on mixing this up and we're going to let this stand for 30 minutes. So I'll wash my hands and then we'll get started cooking down our tomatoes. Alright, and so our beef is still sitting and marinating. I've washed my hands.
Yes.
And now we are going to make the tomato sauce. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to put the flame on medium. I'm going to coat the bottom with some olive oil. And then going to take everything that's on this pan or cutting board and give it a nice fry. And at this point, it should be nice and fragrant. We want to just let the garlic and the shallot sweat a little bit. We don't want them to brown.
Right.
So that's probably about, again, it's not going to be too long because after all, we are going to cook this with our actual pureed tomatoes. So it's been probably about 20 seconds. I'm going to go ahead and add in my puree. I added the Roma just so that there's a little bit of chunkiness, which I find is very nice in this dish, just because otherwise it's just a bunch of starch and like soft stuff. That's why I also serve it with some lettuce underneath as well. Alrighty, and now we're going to add some pepper. Probably about 2 tablespoons. The pepper is what always makes this a lot of fun. Give it a nice stir. And then I'm going to add something that's very similar to like the tomato and egg. I'm going to add some fish sauce.
Wow.
Yay! Going to add about 1.5 teaspoons. Give it a nice stir. Alright, so we are going to put a lid on it. We'll probably turn the flame down just a tiny bit more so it's more on the like medium-low rather than medium. And we'll let this sit and cook down as the beef is marinating, and in the meantime we'll also go ahead and cook and strain the pasta as well. So we'll see you soon when we're ready to assemble our whole stir fry. So our tomatoes have cooked down and our beef has finished marinating. I've also went ahead and boiled our pasta and taken it out so that it is still under al dente. So there's still a little bit of doughiness in the middle, and we're doing that because we're going to actually fry all the pasta as well. So we want it to be a mushy gushy mess.
All right.
So I've put a liberal amount of oil at the bottom of my wok, and at this point I have already finely sliced up my red onion. I'm going to add the red onion in. This dish is all about layers.
Layers.
First layer down is onions. You want to break them up so that they're nice slices. Going to give them a little bit of a fry. They're going to cook some more because we still need to fry the beef. And this is a pretty easy and fast dish. The marinade takes probably the most amount of time, but in terms of active cooking time, this doesn't require a ton.
Do you consider this street food in a way, or is this something you would get at a proper dinner? What do you think about this dish in that term?
Yeah, it's kind of street food. Growing up, I'd actually get it. You could actually get it in restaurants.
Oh.
Again, it's kind of a little bit of a fad food. I would say it's totally a novelty dish, and I love novelty dishes in general. I always think they're fun. I would definitely eat it around lunchtime, more than dinner as a rule of thumb. But it is always good. Because after all, it's pasta and it's beef. You can't really go too wrong. Alright, so the onions have cooked up a decent amount. At this time, I'm going to add in our delicious beef. Actually using a spatula to guide us this time.
Excellent. It's been marinating for well over 45 minutes.
Yeah. You want to marinate it for at least 30. We definitely marinated it longer because of the fact that I needed to do a little bit more prep on the pasta, which is totally fine. Remember, the longer you marinate, the better the flavor. We're gonna fry that up. And then we are going to actually go ahead and put in 1 ladle of our tomato sauce, which is nicely cooked down at this point. And it kind of has that bright orange color that Jean always talks about when tomatoes start to cook down and they're more on the sweet rather than the acrid side. Alright, we're going to let this cook for probably a couple more minutes and then we will be adding in our pasta. So I'll see you very shortly and we'll finish this whole dish up. So our beef has started to nicely cook up. The tomato sauce is tightening up as well. At this point in time, I've already cracked and scrambled my 2 eggs. We're going to go ahead and just add it in. So the egg's going to give a little bit of thickness and it also gives a little bit of creaminess that makes this super delicious. And at this point in time, I'm also going to add another tablespoon of oyster sauce for good measure. And also give it a nice color. And so before I put my spatula in and start to break up the egg, I want to let the egg cook off a little bit so that it's not just there as a thickener, so that you actually get pieces and chunks of egg in the actual stir fry, which makes this again extra special.
It smells beautiful, Lily.
Yay! That's the entire goal. So just kind of wiggle it around and make sure that the liquid egg gets nicely coated and it starts to cook down a bit as well. Again, it's totally fine if you need to start running your spatula through. This is a little bit like a modified tomato egg, but again, the pasta makes it fun and I think the beef makes it fun as well. Because when I normally make tomato egg, I don't actually add any other protein to it.
No.
I try to keep it kind of pure in that way.
No, and I can understand that the beef fat as well is really going to add something to the pasta, as well as the normal flavors in the tomato egg, the oyster sauce, and the fish sauce as well. That smells wonderful.
Alright, so we're going to let this cook for a couple more minutes, and then because our wok is not gigantic, this ideally would be made in one of those huge restaurant type woks with the roaring fires and the giant chopsticks. We don't have that. I'm going to let the egg cook off, and then we're going to split this in half, and we'll go ahead and fry a half batch in here. Again, the key is we're using the wok because the wok gives a little bit of a drier fry as compared to a shallower pan that would be wider, which we definitely have, but the wok stays nice and hot and takes out the water in the fry, which is really, really key to this. Again, tomato egg, when you make it, it can stay a little bit wet. This we want kind of dry. So we'll see you in a couple minutes. Taking out half of our beef because it is time to add our pasta. Hooray! So what I'm going to do, I have my pasta strained and cooled.
And dry, very dry.
Yes, very, very dry. Just going to add it in to our nice pan. This was a whole box of pasta.
That's one box?
Yes, this is a whole box of mini penne. I'm going to add it about probably a little under a half of the box so far into this wok. I want to go ahead and start mixing it up. I want the sauce to begin to coat it. I'm going to add another spoonful and another spoonful for good measure. Then I'm going to add about a half ladle more sauce. And
no. Oh, please.
Oh, go ahead.
So, do you want to get the pasta to get crispier, or are you more happy just to make sure that it actually cooks one of the pasta, the sauce?
You want it to just make sure that the sauce. You just want to make sure that the sauce cooks onto the pasta. It doesn't necessarily need to be crispy, just because I think that's a little bit tough, and sometimes you'll end up with mushy pasta, and that's no fun for anybody.
I appreciate that.
And so looks like it's getting there. We'll probably need to fry it up for about another like minute and a half, and then we'll be ready to serve with all the garnishes. So we'll see you soon when everything is prepared and ready to serve. And so we've taken a bed of lettuce. I've taken like red-green lettuce, and I've put the Nui Xao ball on it, and I've topped it off with some cilantro and the green part of the scallion. So enjoy your Nui Xao ball. I hope it is a fun dish for you, especially when you're kind of craving something that has a little complexity but overall still pretty simple. Enjoy!